This is your daily briefing. It always made me wonder. There was a scene in All or Nothing, the Amazon documentary of Spurs, where Jose Mourinho says to Daniel Levy that Sir Alex Ferguson had only given him one piece of advice, which was buy Dele Alli. And I was always curious to know what the impact of that little scene had upon Dele. Now, I have my own opinion of the guy. It isn't particularly high, and I wonder if instead of inspiring him, it made him even more confident that his trajectory was, it was undeniable. He was going to be a big player. And so Sir Alex has come out in the last 24 hours and rather upset the apple cart on what was an immense compliment. And he's asking what happened to him. Now, one of the articles I read was in The Sun, and it was really infuriating because it went through all the usual skips and loops and said that he'd scored X amount of goals and blah, blah, blah. And then made the point that Mourinho hadn't really played him. And as if that was, that's what had gone wrong. That it was this bloody Portuguese's fault. And I think some of us are of a slightly different opinion, that what had gone wrong was him, the kid himself, had gone wrong. And so I'm not one, and this is where we go down this sort of stat thing. Stats I'm not a big fan of. Analysing what's actually happened in a game, I can be fascinated by on occasion. So I can't tell you when so-and-so played their first debut or how many goals they've scored in foreign cup competitions. I'd forget where I live if I try to retain the information like that. So I had a look, and Dele Alli's career at Tottenham is something that, what percentage would I put on it? 85%, I think, that he threw away. He debuted for Pochettino, aged 19 years and 3 months. And for his first 3 seasons, he played over 30. I think up to about 36, 37 Premier League games. And what we got glimpses of greatness, 100%. But we also got what I can only refer to as a lot of fannying about. And there was a lot of this flicks and tricks, but no substance. I did an analysis which didn't go down very well at all. In fact, it only went down well, I think, with people who had an irrational hate for the kid. Whereby I looked at his activity rate when he was playing for Spurs, when he was on, he was like allegedly exciting. And his contributions were packed around the half-time mark. So it's almost like he was lifting his game as we came into the last sort of 17, 18 minutes of the first half. And then he kept that going and he disappeared about 20 minutes in. And this was across a number of games. This wasn't just like one example. It was across a number of games. And it was met with at the time, it was met with pretty much, well, you just don't like him. Well, don't worry about the facts. You just invent the fact that, he once trod on my foot or parked in my parking space. You just invent something. But we got a series of stuff that then emerged. And there was the clothing, the clubbing, the dolly bird, the endorsements. I didn't even get wind of most of those because I don't use Instagram because And then I think the cherry on the guano cake was being dropped by England, because that, whilst being an international, is not the be-all and end-all in the 21st century. If you aren't an international or you get binned off by Southgate, it doesn't look good. And I think to a large extent we can blame Dele, but also there was no competition for the kid. And this takes us back to Levy not backing Pochettino. Can't even speak. This takes us back to Levy not backing Pochettino, and those 18 months where we were the only club in the top 5 leagues in Europe who didn't buy anybody. And had there been that churn within the squad, had there been that edge, that business whereby somebody had to fight, there was competition. But Dele was just able to come and go as he pleased, and he ended up not really doing very much. So what happened to Dele Alli is a curious thing, and I think that one of the things that a lot of people are missing when they're talking about who's going to be our next coach, and this is where I was heading, is that we're going to need somebody who can reinvigorate people that have gone stale and deadwood and all the rest of it, because the market conditions are so poor that the idea of, and I sympathise with those people making these lists of players that they don't want to see in a shirt again. I absolutely sympathise. But I think that the economic reality is that whilst you can say, well, they've abolished slavery and Kane is almost certainly going to go because of the noises that he's making, it's going to be really difficult to, on a practical level, foist the likes of Eric Dyer and all the other characters that are hanging around on other people without taking an astronomical loss. And so to get a manager that can reinvigorate, re-inspire, because if you look at the seasons that Dele was here, that he was, tipped, that at the time when Sir Alex wasn't asking, where's he gone, but get him, he's going to be good. That was a long time ago. Dele Alli's now 25. And that was the other beautiful thing, which I think a lot of people have opted to sort of cloud over in their minds. The best advice that Dele Alli ever got in his life was from Mourinho in that documentary. And he said to him, you're 24, whatever he was at the time. He said, I'm 56. And yesterday I was 20. And I don't think any of that has permeated the kid's head at all. So we'll see what happens to him. But I think Dele Alli is a poster boy in many respects for the drift under ENIC and the negligence that we've had from the chairman. I've never warmed to him because he's never ticked some of the more crazy boxes for me in terms of being a player, in terms of really trying his utmost and playing for the team and concentrating and doing all these other dreadful things that would make me a beast. But my group of people I think of when I think of great managers, they achieved what they did. So Shankly, Brian Howard Clough, Bill Nick, all these guys, they achieved what they did not because they were wizards. They weren't using dark arts, but they instilled or selected players that had these certain qualities. And whilst the game has changed enormously, those qualities remain as being very desirable, shall we say. And Dele simply doesn't have those qualities. So the next coach, and I'm not even going to discuss that in this, I think the penny has dropped with Levy, and I still understand that we've not interviewed anybody yet. They're looking for somebody who doesn't exist. They're looking for a miracle worker. They're looking for somebody who can walk on coals. Right, we've got a little bit more to come, so I'll do that later on. Keep it time.